and welcome everyone. I'm really delighted to join you this afternoon on today's town hall. And whether you're joining by Zoom or in the live stream, really thrilled that you're able to join with us today. I'd like to begin with an acknowledgement that the University of Alberta resides on Treaty 6 territory, the homeland of the Métis. This territory is a traditional gathering place for the diverse Indigenous peoples whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence our vibrant community. And to acknowledge this territory is to recognize the longer history of these lands. And the acknowledgement signifies our commitment to working in good relations with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples as we engage in our institutional work, uplifting the whole people. We have a full presentation for you today. We'll try to keep it to no more than 25 minutes so that we will have an additional 25-30 minutes for questions. And you'll be hearing from all of us on the progress to date on the University of Alberta for Tomorrow plans, and in particular on the release of the recent release of the university's new operating model. And in particular, we want to share a few details about the roles and responsibilities of UAT's 3 new colleges, set to be launched on July 1st. And after the presentation, we'll have about a half hour for questions. And questions can be submitted using the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen when the time comes. So with that, we'll go to the next slide. So just a little recap. As you know, in June of last year, we launched the University of Alberta for Tomorrow, a very ambitious plan to reduce our administrative costs by about $127 million. In doing this, we're really, I think, turning our challenges into a strategic transformation for the university, never forgetting our core mission of teaching, research, and community engagement. And the student experience, of course, being at the center of everything we do as a university. And ideally setting a bold new direction for post-secondary education. Next slide. So just a little bit of a recap, how the road to today. Of course, it all began with the McKinnon report in 2019, when the government tasked McKinnon with the task of plotting a way to balance the provincial budget without raising taxes. Now, as you'll see from this chart, in 2017-18, the University of Alberta funding per student was about $18,000. We project that by the last year of cuts, which is next year, this will be reduced to about $12,000. Now, of course, this is a dramatic reduction, about a 33% reduction in our Campus Alberta grant. And I in no way am underestimating the scale of the challenge that this is posing for the university and the university community, particularly with job reductions. But nonetheless, even at $12,000, which is where we will end up, we will be among some of the very best universities in Canada, including UBC, McMaster, University of Ottawa. So my message here is, although this restructuring is challenging, and certainly challenging for members of the university community, we can achieve a financial sustainability and indeed be in a strong position to continue to thrive as one of Canada's very best universities. Next slide. So just again, a recap, the total cut is 34% to our Campus Alberta grant, total cut of $224 million. We have now sustained 2 years of cuts, and there's a third year to go, projected to be $54 million next year. And of course, during this 3-year period, we've also seen tuition increases. So the net reduction to our total budget is in the range of $135 million. This represents a 13% reduction in our operating budget. Cost reductions that we've undertaken to date are $68 million, and we've got $59 million to go. So we've obviously come a long way, but there is still a long way to go in terms of achieving financial sustainability for the university. Next slide. So this, in a nutshell, is what we're attempting to do with administrative restructuring, reducing our administrative costs by $95 million. The rest of our savings will come from procurement and space allocation. And as you will see from this slide, what we're really attempting to do is maintain the same level of service that we've been providing at the university, but providing that service at significantly reduced cost. In this case, reducing our costs by $95 million. Now, in order to do this, we are dramatically reducing what we spend at the administrative level in faculties and departments. And we're shifting much of these services primarily centrally, but also some of these services to the college. So what this means is, while we're building up some of the resources, particularly the college, and also building resources centrally, We're also removing a lot of the direct delivery of services in faculties and departments. And again, the overall goal is to reduce our expenditures by $95 million. So this is why in the university, you'll see some areas growing. And indeed, of course, the colleges are new, some areas growing centrally. And of course, other areas are being reduced, particularly the administrative services delivered directly in faculties and in departments. So although some areas are growing, it's important to recognize that the overall cost reduction cannot change. And in this case, we're aiming for $95 million. The next slide. So just a little bit about the Alberta of tomorrow. And now we've talked about the hard stuff, the financial challenges. I'd like to also focus on some of the opportunities for the University of Alberta and indeed Alberta going forward. And of course, it will be an ever-changing Alberta. But the really wonderful thing about Alberta is still a very, very robust population growth anticipated over the next many years, a population growth of over 2 million by 2046. Over half of this will be from international migration, again, reflecting an increasingly diverse population here in Alberta. K-12 continues to increase, and of course, that's our core business, is providing opportunities to young Albertans, and the numbers will continue to grow. At the same time, we will also have an aging population, which will continue to put additional pressures on provincial budgets in terms of healthcare. And this, of course, will have implications for ongoing funding for the post-secondary sector. Growth will be concentrated in cities, great for us here in Edmonton. And of course, above all, the economy of tomorrow will be different. It will continue to evolve. And we all know that post-secondary teaching and research is really at the heart of shaping what the economy of tomorrow will be for Alberta. The next slide. And now growth. This is really my favorite topic, not cost containment. And we have wonderful opportunities for growth at the University of Alberta. Most importantly, the young demographics of the province. Our applications this year alone are up over 8%. And this just simply reflects the demographic pressures of a growing young population in Alberta. So we have a very ambitious proposal to the government of Alberta to grow our enrollment and to seek funding in support of that enrollment. And my message to the government of Alberta is, with the future of the university and indeed the future of the province cannot be built on cost containment. It needs to be built on growth, and in particular, investing in opportunities for young Albertans. And we will continue to bring that message forward. I think it's a very positive message for the university and for the province. And we also have opportunities to grow additional new programs, online, continuing education, micro-credentials. All, I think, have opportunities to raise additional net revenue for the university that we can use to support our core mission of teaching, research, and community engagement. And likewise, we're actively looking at repurposing some of our assets with our newly established land trust. There's opportunities in the longer term to generate significant revenue in support of the university. The next slide. So in 2 years, we're aiming to transform our organizational and academic structures, realizing over $120 million in savings. The colleges, to be established on July 1st, will be driving a new level of interdisciplinary teaching and research and efficient delivery of services within the college. Our staff, better trained, better equipped than ever to advance the university's mission, and our student services will never have been stronger. And an ambitious program of new revenue generating, including expanding existing and developing new programs. Next slide. In 5 years, we have an opportunity to expand our enrollment to over 50,000 students from our current enrollment of 40,000 today. We can be a leader in teaching and learning, a leader in terms of our research and our impact. We can secure our ranks among the top world universities, and we also will have significantly reduced our reliance on government grants. Next slide. So just quickly, Alberta 2030, you will all be familiar with the review launched by the provincial government. Increased student aid, great news for our students, of course, work integrated learning. I just wanted to highlight deconsolidation as a particularly important outcome for Alberta 2030. The government announced that the University of Alberta will be deconsolidated from the provincial accounts. What this will mean is a change in the composition of the board. The province can no longer appoint a majority of the board. And so there will be a change in the governance structure, indicating that the province no longer, in effect, controls the university for the purposes of public accounts. And what this means is that we're no longer consolidated with the public accounts, which will give us a great deal more freedom to grow our own revenues and indeed pursue all the opportunities for growth that I've outlined earlier. So deconsolidation is an enormously important outcome of Alberta 2030 for the University of Alberta. Next slide. So the colleges will launch July 1st. They'll be integrating an academic administrative structure into one unified operating model for the university. Our goal is streamlined and consistent delivery of services with clear roles, responsibilities, and accountabilities. And of course, to increase our interdisciplinary teaching and research. And to prepare for the launch of the colleges, we've been working very hard over the last several weeks and months to develop the structure of the colleges in a way that will fully integrate the university's operating model and clearly outline roles and responsibilities. The colleges will be important integrators, facilitators, and accelerators. And the vision is to remove any barriers to collaboration in teaching and research, leverage teaching and research strengths into students' and society's benefit, lead multidisciplinary research focused on global challenges, and foster innovation and entrepreneurship. The colleges will also play a key role in SET in creating economies of scale and reducing the administrative burden currently borne by faculties and departments. And so now I'd like to introduce our interim college deans, Greta Cummings, who will be the interim college dean for the College of Health Sciences, Doucet, college dean for the College of Social Sciences and Humanities, and Matina Kalcounis-Rueppell, interim college dean for the College of Natural and Applied Science. So now I believe, Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you're going to tell us a little bit about how colleges will play a role in delivering administrative services. So over to you, Joe.
Well, thank you, Bill. And as you noted, the colleges are going to be important integrators, facilitators, and accelerators. And I'm actually quite excited and optimistic about the role that the colleges are going to play in helping to implement the goals of SET, which is, it's very important to say, are in support of our academic mission. So as our viewers know, SET has been focused on core administrative functions such as HR, IT, finance, student services, research services, and external relations. And these functions are common across the university. And while many of these services are provided by shared services and the centers of expertise in the Provost's office or the vice president portfolios, the colleges will play a coordinating role and support faculties through a college service partner office. Now, college general managers will work with teams of embedded service partners, both at the college and the faculty level, as well as the faculty general managers, to ensure that the services within faculties and departments are met as effectively and as efficiently as possible. By coordinating these administrative services at the college level, we will reduce the administrative burden currently borne by faculties and departments, and our objective is to make life easier for faculties and departments to focus on core activities of teaching and research. So let me give you an example of how this restructuring will benefit us at the university. And I'll take as an example the HR domain. So human resources is certainly critical. It's a critical function in a university like ours because we are a people-focused organization. And the importance of attracting and retaining the best and brightest staff, both academic and administrative, is key to our success. With improved processes and specialized staff focused on the different HR processes, such as job evaluation, advertising, recruitment, onboarding, we will be able to respond more quickly and more effectively to staffing needs in faculties and departments. Now, we of course aim to achieve greater efficiency and cost savings, but our focus will be on effective hiring and retention, not just the process efficiency. And the importance of being more effective in hiring will increase in the coming years as our staffing needs evolve to support increased enrollments, as you've mentioned, Bill, and likely even more competitive labor markets. So implementing the transformation is already underway through SET. Matina, Greta, and I are already working with both college and faculty general managers, senior partners in HR, IT, finance, and elsewhere with the SET team to build out the college level administrative supports very quickly in the coming weeks. Now, colleges will, of course, play a key role in providing academic services, which I know is an area of great concern and interest to all of us. So now I'd like to turn it over to Matina to follow up on the academic service offices. Matina, over to you.
Thank you, Joe. Colleges do have an important role in creating economies of scale, and this can be achieved by bringing together groups of faculties. More importantly, though, we have a role to play in delivering these services with greater consistency while also taking the administrative burden off individual faculties and departments. Over these past months of consultation, we've heard concerns, and indeed there are questions coming in about departments and faculties losing their services. I want to reiterate that where specialized services and administrative needs are integral to academic programming, faculties will provide these services. However, I believe there are academic services where colleges can play a key role. And in doing so, they'll free up chairs and deans to focus on activities that build and strengthen our reputation for excellence. And that is our priority, ensuring the highest quality student experience and academic programming while attracting, retaining, and mentoring top talent. So where is the role for academic services in the colleges? Each college will be setting up academic service offices, and I'm going to go through 3 of these. The first is the Office of Education. Discussions have already begun on how this Office of Education will help, or as I like to say, will add value to faculties in each of the colleges. I can share some examples from our own college, Natural and Applied Sciences, and want to let you know that we're already working on a model that would see, for example, discipline and academic integrity move up to this office. These are high volume services where shared expertise from among the faculties, but working from one office at the college will add value. The second is the research office. I'll again use an example from Natural and Applied Sciences. There are many parallel admin processes across ALES, engineering, and science from a research perspective. And our directors of research and associate deans of research have been putting their heads together along with the VPRI office to vision not only how we can find efficiencies, but how we can elevate an already exceptional research enterprise in natural and applied sciences. Thus far, our work has been pretty high level, but in the coming weeks, we'll flesh out details, not only with the SET research service stream, but also with our new VPRI, Amina Robinson. There are still a lot of questions to answer about the research office, but what is clear is that this process to date has already lowered walls among our 3 faculties, and the discussions to date, especially among our exceptional research directors, Sarah, Kelly, and Betty, have been meaningful. I have no doubt that in natural and applied sciences, research will move forward because of our existing collaboration and because of the way we will leverage our expertise. The last office I want to talk about is the graduate office. Discussions about the graduate office are really in nascent stages. This is for several reasons. FGSR is complex and intersects with other faculty offices such as UAI, the Dean of Students, and the Registrar's Office. Currently, all of these groups are visioning what they'll look like in the University of Alberta for tomorrow. And once they're through that process, we'll begin discussions about what this might look like at the college. There's also an integration and articulation with the question about academic leadership. We all know the work done by our associate deans and associate chairs graduate is foundational to our operation and to our excellence. And there's a new group, a new working group tasked with thinking about academic leadership in these roles. The Office of Graduate is also complicated by the variation in size and types of graduate programs found across the University of Alberta. This group will be busy working over the summer and will provide us recommendations in September. So what about next steps and timelines for academic services? As you might imagine, these offices are at different stages, even within natural and applied sciences. I expect that much work will be done over the coming months, not only to visualize, but also to implement the foundation for these offices. The bottom line is that we will be continuing with our engagement with all of our stakeholders, and we will be mindful that these offices will add value to faculties. As you've heard both the president and provost say, the end goal is to free up resources so that those resources can go back into our core mission. I hope this discussion of the offices has been helpful, and I'll look forward to providing more details in the coming months. I'd now like to pass this over to Greta, who will introduce us to the Office of Strategic Initiatives.
Thank you so much, Matina. One of the core objectives for the creation of the colleges is to foster and expand on existing interdisciplinary teaching and research initiatives. Bringing together faculties within the colleges creates opportunities to break down silos and work more effectively across the colleges, as well as in collaboration with the 3 standalone faculties. This kind of work is already happening frequently and is a great success. Our goal is to build on that great work. Where we are speaking of large-scale research initiatives or joint programs, colleges can expand and increase on those efforts. Colleges may also play a role in moving forward institutional strategic initiatives and plans in key areas such as equity, diversity, inclusion, and Indigenous initiatives. For example, in the College of Health Sciences, we are just beginning to discuss the opportunities to enhance Indigenous health with our Indigenous communities in both teaching and research, something that is beyond the scope of any one faculty or discipline. In interdisciplinary initiatives, again, in the College of Health Sciences, as our president has often noted, we have an opportunity to develop an undergraduate degree in health sciences. In social sciences and humanities and the natural and applied sciences colleges, there are efforts to coordinate on the development of an interdisciplinary certificate in entrepreneurship and innovation. The colleges offer these kinds of opportunities. In terms of international initiatives, each of our faculties has greater or lesser participation in the international arena and in access to international students on campus. Again, by joining forces and efforts within and across colleges, we can see capacity grow to increase our internationalization and potentially our interdisciplinarity with some aligned initiatives. One of our first initiatives as college deans will be to launch a strategic planning process within each college to explore and define the opportunities for increased coordination and collaboration. We'll all be conducting broad consultations throughout the fall with our stakeholders, both internal and external, with the expectation that plans will be completed by December of 2021. It's ambitious, but we have to work within these short timelines. As Joe and Matina have both indicated, this consultation process will run parallel with the setup of the administrative and academic services and offices in the colleges. Throughout the strategic planning process, we will continue to work in alignment with the SET team and other restructuring activities currently unfolding both across the university and within faculties and units. Todd Gilchrist is here to provide an update on those timelines and goals, so I'll now hand it over to Todd.
Thank you so much, Greta, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to have an opportunity today to come and just share some information around the SET initiative with you. Spend a little bit of time answering any questions that you might have in that regard. We'll go to the next slide, please. As everyone knows, we're in a critical period as the university moves forward with the implementation of the operating model that we've been discussing. And I know it may feel like we've been in change and transition for forever, but I promise you that the end is in sight. In fact, we're actually about 3/4 of the way through the SET initiative. And we're focusing on that March 22nd date, where we will be largely through our SET initiative. So let's just take a quick look back at our progress. More importantly, however, I will focus on where we're headed in the future. If we do just look at the past year, SET has been following an intensive program schedule. It's included things like the introduction of the new administrative operating model, the establishment of the new organizational structures to support that model, as well as detailed reviews of the processes within each of the functional work streams. The result of that work is that the university is currently preparing for a major period of transition of both staff and services over the next few months. As I mentioned just a few seconds ago, we are about 3/4 of the way through SET, so there is going to be some significant milestones coming up in the near future that I would just like to touch on. For example, the launch, I should say, of our shared services will occur on two fronts. So the staff and faculty service center will go live with the initial transition of some HR processes on July 26th. That'll be followed by the introduction of service improvements and automation rolling out on an ongoing basis. It's important for us all to note that the launch of shared services is really a transition over several months. It's not a moment in time. It's not like flipping on the proverbial light switch. As well, the Student Service Center will be ready for a virtual soft launch on July 1st and has its physical hard launch planned for August 16th. The hiring of service partners for each of the functional streams is in progress. Many of you would already know that the senior HR service partners have been announced, and several, not all, but several of the HR partners have been hired. The senior finance partners have also largely been hired and confirmed, and we will be announcing those just as soon as possible, measured in just hopefully a few days. The intention is that those individuals will then begin their new roles in just the next few weeks, and their first priority will be to hire finance partners. And of course, that will be done in collaboration with faculties, and in particular the college and faculty general managers. And as for the other functional work streams, as they continue to develop in the coming months, they'll follow similar processes for the hiring of their respective service partner roles. I'd now like to spend a little bit of time and just talk about how some of these changes impact you, the staff, and your future careers. As we transition to the new operating model, many new positions are being created and are in the process of being hired. So to stay on top of the new positions that are available or are coming available, I would encourage you all to watch the SET position opportunities page, otherwise known as POP, as well as the U of A Careers website. From these sites, you will see new roles for administrative leadership, whether those be APO maps, as well as our NASA positions. Over the next 6 to 9 months or so, there's going to be approximately 280 or so SET-related positions that are going to come to bear on those sites. So please do keep an eye open for those. I want to emphasize that in all instances of hiring, we are committed to following our HR principles, collective agreements, handbooks, policies, legislation, as we move through the transition process. In terms of how we'll fill those roles, I would point out that there will be some positions that will really only change slightly in the new model. And so those positions will be reevaluated as appropriate, and staff in those roles will continue. We do certainly remain committed to filling as many positions as possible with our own talented U of A staff. And that's all roles, whether that be leadership, APO, MAPS, support staff. Internal staff will be given priority for all recruitments, regardless if that position is posted internally and or externally at the same time. There has been an expression of interest process that's limited to NASA staff for NASA support positions. And if and only if following the EOI process, a successful internal candidate is not identified, then the competition will be opened up more broadly, both internally and externally. I'd really like to reinforce and reiterate that advancing our existing internal talent has been and remains a priority. I've heard some rumors, contrary to any rumors that you have heard, the majority of our new hires have been filled by internal candidates. I can confirm that of the 72 positions that we've hired since January, 64 of those positions were hired from internal staff. And that really makes me happy to see that we are able to advance our existing talent at the university and retain our institutional expertise. It's also important to note that the new operating model provides opportunities for career development and growth. Not only does the model ensure that we can operate effectively and efficiently within our budget reality, but equally critical is that it creates a workplace that significantly reduces redundancies, it simplifies procedures and workflows, and all that comes together to mean that staff can experience more rewarding, often specialized work, sustainable roles, and those roles that will have clearer career paths for staff. This applies to all new roles in the model, certainly including those in shared services. The goal, and I know it's a goal that is shared by our new AVP of Shared Services, Rhea Ames, is to have professionals from across the university's administrative functions come together, leverage technology, systems, and processes to ultimately provide those better outcomes, appropriate outcomes for users. In doing so, we can simplify and automate tasks so that staff can put more focus and energy into consulting and providing their input into services and processes and working with their customers moving forward. So just as I wrap up, I do want to take a moment to thank you all for your hard work, perseverance, resilience over this past year. I know it hasn't necessarily been an easy year for many reasons, but all of you as a group and as individuals are integral to the collective success of implementing the University of Alberta for tomorrow. And with your continued support at this time next year, we will, we'll say, be largely across the finish line and even closer to achieving our UAT vision. So I will stop there. I will turn things back over to you, Matina, to moderate questions from our participants. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Todd. So there are questions coming into the question and answer box, and many of you submitted questions ahead of time. And I am pleased to moderate the next roughly 20 or 25 minutes of the town hall. I'm going to ask all of the panelists to turn on their cameras, and I'm going to start the questioning and open this question up for the provost. And the first question, which many people are asking, is what is happening to the roles of associate deans and associate chairs? And sort of second part to that, who's going to be involved in making decisions about that?
Great question, Matina. And you alluded to part of the answer in some of your comments. So we currently have over 300 professors who are on associate leadership roles, mostly as associate deans and associate chairs. You know, these are very dedicated, hardworking individuals, and their activities are essential to the success of the university. However, the way we've allocated them, their distribution and their responsibilities is really tracks our organizational structure, which is very heterogeneous and not tracking, let's say, number of faculty members or number of students that they serve. So with the introduction of colleges, there's an opportunity for us to think a little bit differently about how we deploy professors into these leadership positions with an eye on focusing them more on strategic outcomes and reducing the total number needed, thereby increasing our academic capacity, teaching and research. So this is something that we have to work through carefully, and we're just getting started on establishing a working group. First meeting is on Friday, and that consists of people who are in these roles from across the various leadership positions. So everywhere from associate chairs up to college deans and provost. So this group is going to take a first principles approach to what exactly is the expertise that we need, what is exactly the role that we need these academic leaders to be taking, and where in the organization should they be located. It is the expectation that working group should finish its work by the end of September and allow us then to start to work towards implementing those recommendations.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to follow that up. There are lots of questions coming in, and this will be for you as well, Steve, that have to do with governance and decision-making. So the question is, who do the faculty deans report to? What does first among equals mean? And what is the purpose of a college dean? And then the follow-up to that is, who is making decisions about program initiatives, especially academic program initiatives, that do or do not fit into the U of A academic vision? So really the broad question is, how are decisions being made in the University of Alberta for tomorrow? And how do the college deans fit into that decision making?
Okay, I'll try and keep all those pieces there. So first off, on the reporting nature of deans. So as has been stipulated in the various motions that have created the college structure, faculty deans report to the provost, remain accountable to the position of provost for their people, for their budget, for their academic programming, just as today. The college dean has the authority to convene the conversation within the college about coordination, collaboration, innovation. So the college dean provides leaderships on those joint initiatives that are established by the Council of Deans, the respective college councils of deans. The college dean also oversees much of the administration within the college, so that the faculty deans and the college dean will need to work closely together to ensure that that administration is managed effectively to support the academic activities. So let me segue to the second question, which is about program initiatives. So the domain of our programs remains firmly fixed with the faculty deans, providing the leadership for our programs. But we do anticipate that there will be opportunities for joint initiatives and interdisciplinary activities. And so the college dean plays the role of convening that discussion, that set of tables where we bring the different program responsible deans together to say, what can we do here? And as needed, I would expect the college dean to take a role in coordinating the delivery of those pieces that don't sit within any particular faculty. We'll obviously be figuring out the way that these work as we get a little bit more experience, but that's primarily how the responsibilities will be, at least at this point, anticipated to be rolled out. Did I miss any pieces there?
Perfect, thank you. Next question I'm actually going to pose to Todd. So questions have come in about the Staff Service Center and the Student Service Center. Todd, can you talk to us about what we know about where the Staff Service Center will be located, where the Student Service Center will be located? I think people are very interested in that.
Yeah, certainly, Matina. I'll do my best. Right now, that's a bit of an evolving thing, obviously, with us working remotely right now. As some of that comes online, we will probably be doing so in that remote virtual world. As we proceed and later into this year, the Staff Service Center will actually be located in Enterprise Square downtown, which I know for many folks that know the campus well and love it will be a bit of a change. Enterprise Square is being built out to be a beautiful, modern, technology-enabled space, and I can say that the people that are already down at Enterprise Square love it and speak quite highly of it. The Student Service Center will be will be on campus and will actually, as the dentistry pharmacy building continues its build out, will eventually move into that building. So again, a new environment for that group in the future.
Perfect. Todd, I'm going to still keep you on the hot seat here. Other questions are coming in about exactly what you mean by career advancement for staff within this new University of Alberta for Tomorrow. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, certainly. I think that there's great opportunities, and I think the way that I referred to it in my earlier comments was, you know, a clearer path, a clearer career path. Being able to work within your discipline of choice, and being able to, you know, learn and grow within the university, learn from colleagues within your profession, rather than what our historical career path may have been, which would have been more directly related to a path or a journey within a faculty or a certain unit. People will now have easier access to those opportunities and learnings from across the entire university. So opportunities to work within these you know, central aspects, possibly take your career at some point back into a faculty and back again. So.
Thanks, Todd. So I think this next question is for President Flanagan, and there have been a couple of questions coming in the Q&A and questions that were submitted ahead of time that comment that the Edmonton Journal has called this the shrinking of the university. And I think everyone here would like to know, number one, why you would disagree with that. And number two, what is the message for members of our Edmonton and broader community?
Well, thank you, Matina. I must say I was a bit surprised to see that headline, and I do very strongly disagree. As I mentioned earlier in my comments, the opportunities for growth for the University of Alberta going forward are simply spectacular. There's not many jurisdictions in the world that have as young a population as we have in Alberta. Just today, I met with a cabinet minister, again, reiterating the importance of providing opportunities to young Albertans. We can grow as a university from 40,000 to 50,000 students. And with that, all of the revenue and opportunities that will bring, that we can invest in our core mission of teaching, research, and community engagement. So I see our challenge in the immediate term is just to stabilize the financial position of the university. We're well on our way to being there, as Todd mentioned. I think this time next year, we'll be having a very different conversation. And I want to pivot to growth as quickly as possible. And indeed, again, as I mentioned, I'm in active conversations with the government and really anyone who will listen to me about the growth opportunities ahead for the university. And that includes not only enrollment, but the new programs that I mentioned. We've got an ambitious program to put together a strategic plan for University of Alberta Online, seizing all the lessons that we've learned coming out of COVID, micro-credentials, continuing education, and then again, repurposing some of our assets. So I'm very focused on growth. We are not a shrinking university, and we are not a shrinking province.
Thanks, Bill. The next question, I think, is for the college dean. So I'll open this up for Greta and for Joe. Several people have asked about the strategic planning that I think, Greta, you mentioned in your comments. So questions coming in like, who are the stakeholders? How is that going to happen? So if one of you wants to comment on the strategic planning process and how that's actually going to happen with the faculty deans.
I'll jump in. Thanks very much, Matina. And broadly speaking, this is going to involve everyone, or provide opportunities for everyone who's involved to be engaged, to be part of the process. It's obviously going to begin with the Council of Deans, so the college dean and the faculty deans, and then extend beyond into the faculties with our faculty, staff, students. It would be obviously beneficial for us to engage with alumni and other external stakeholders who are involved and interested. But for us to be successful, this really needs to be a process that we all can really dig into and contribute to. So I'm very excited, speaking for the College of Social Sciences and Humanities, very excited to engage with my colleagues, engage with faculty, staff, and students, and develop a plan for the future that is going to, as has been said many times now, is going to energize the university and help us continue to flourish as a world-class academic institution.
Greta, do you want to add anything to that?
I think Joe covered it really well. I think just to reinforce that, that we will have broad input from any stakeholders internally, particularly that who are interested in contributing. And as well, particularly in health, we will have some external stakeholder feedback as well and suggestions to help us out.
Thanks, Greta and Joe. Several questions coming in about FGSR. We also had a question that came in ahead of time that actually intersects with the questions that I'm seeing coming in live. And that is to clarify if graduate level student funding, such as scholarships, remain with FGSR, and does FGSR remain as FGSR? And I think I can sort of quickly answer this. There are lots of questions about what's happening centrally with FGSR as it interfaces with other central units like the Registrar's Office, the Dean of Students, University of Alberta International, but then also questions about how FGSR will interface with the colleges. And I think the answer to that is that is still a work in process, because my understanding is that FGSR, UAI, the RO and the Dean of Students right now are in sort of a visioning process to imagine exactly what they'll look like in the University of Alberta for tomorrow. And I think that visioning process will move forward. And once that's completed, then we'll start discussions, as I said in my comments, about how the offices in the college will interface with FGSR. But for now, things are as everyone would find them and would recognize them. So nothing has changed right now about where graduate scholarships are coming from or who manages that. So that is essentially as is, but we'll look forward to providing updates. So another question that's coming in, actually several questions, and I think, Steve, you talked about this, but there are specific questions about the group that is working on academic leadership. Has that working group been formed? Who are the constituents of that group? And what is their mandate?
So yeah, very much understand the interest in that. So we do have a group of folks who've been invited to that that group, and as I said earlier, the first meeting will be on Friday. The first item of business whenever you pull a new group together is look around the table. Who are we missing? And so we haven't finalized the membership. What I would propose is give me about a week. And we'll be able to come back with this is what the membership is. But our intent is we make sure we have associate chairs, associate deans, chairs, deans, college deans, and covering the primary conversations are going to be around how we do research, how we do grad, and how we do teaching administration generally. And so we need to have expertise in those areas to flesh out the topics that are going to be discussed. So, like I say, give us about a week to iterate once, and then we'll put out the list.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm being mindful of the time. We have about 5 more minutes and we have many, many more questions. I want to make sure to get to this question, which is for Todd. And that is that there will be a lot happening this summer and job ads will be coming up this summer. What happens if staff are on holidays?
That's a fantastic question, Matina. And I also will say I've just been scrolling some of the questions in the chat box. And I see there was a concern in there, or a question that some jobs were not maybe posted on the POP website. I'll look into that. That was a surprise to me, so I will look into that. But I would say that is your key place there, and the careers website to keep an eye on. The POP website will be giving you a heads up on what's coming. Now, we want everybody to get some vacation this summer. You don't need to be glued in front of your computer watching for those. The POP site will give you a heads up to what's coming up. If you're going to be away, and not here when that closes, reach out to your HR advisor, submit your resume in advance, and they'll make sure that it gets in. Other than that, just some general advice would be to be ready, have your resume and cover letter drafts ready. And if you feel that you need any support in any of that, do reach out to HR. We're happy to assist. Perfect.
Thank you, Todd. So there's a question here, which I think should go to Bill or Steve, and that is, and it's come in from lots of different angles. Instead of reducing the number of faculties, you've added a layer of administration with the colleges. How is that more efficient?
Let me take the first stab, and Bill can fill in the pieces I've missed. So really, recall we got to the college model as a strategy which would allow us to achieve the efficiencies of consolidating into fewer faculties without actually losing the identity of the existing faculties. So that means that we do have to change the way that faculties and departments function in order to reflect the consolidation of services and functions at a higher level in the organization. So we're aiming for economies of scale here. That is the key driver here. At the end of the day, even though we've got an added layer, that added layer allows us to do the consolidation, achieve the economies of scale, have fewer people in these consolidated units who are providing equivalent administrative and academic supports, all at a net lower cost.
Yeah, I just might add that the colleges are really about providing and maintaining levels of service. And we know by doing this and grouping these services within the college, we can maintain these levels of service. And it goes back to my earlier slide when I showed how we're investing in some areas of the university, particularly the colleges, in maintaining our investment centrally and building on that. And we need to do that in order to maintain levels of service. But the overall cost reduction remains $95 million. And indeed, the colleges are a key piece of enabling us to achieve that $95 million target. Although for some sense, you might say, well, that's counterintuitive because we're spending money building the colleges. But it's in building the colleges that we're sustaining levels of service at a significantly lower cost.
Thank you. So the last question before we're out of time is dedicated to the standalone faculties. Several questions have come in on what role and how integrated and what the plan is for integration of the standalone faculties in decisions when the focus, especially of this town hall, has been about the colleges. So I will again pass that on to Steve just to talk about the standalone faculties moving forward.
Sure, and as you say, Matina, a lot of conversation has been around colleges, which can certainly make the standalone faculties feel like they've been left out of the conversation. But really the role, the structure, and the relationships of the standalone faculties are largely unaffected by the introduction of the colleges. They retain essentially their current mode of operation, which they need to have in order to really focus on their respective communities that they serve. They will find it easier to engage with other faculties as there'll be fewer points of contact needed. You need relationships, good relationships with 3 colleges rather than with 13 other faculties, which will be, I hope, easier to do. And we already are seeing colleges being very purposeful about reaching out and including both each other as well as the standalone faculties as they think about initiatives going forward. In terms of decision-making and how do they participate in the decision-making processes, Dean's Council remains our primary decision and coordinating body across the institution, and really a forum for academic initiatives and budget discussions. So that body remains as it is. The standalone faculties, as well as the other faculties in colleges, do remain players at that table. So there's no shift in role in these key decision tables. As well, our governance is largely unaffected at let's say GFC. So there isn't a special track for colleges to go through our governance. It remains very much a faculty-based system of representation. So I don't think that the standalone faculties are going to find a significant difference in how they operate, other than, as I say, I hope that there's greater opportunities for connection with the colleges and all the implications that collaboration can stem from there.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. Well, as often is the case when we have lots of people focused on something that we all care very much about, we could talk for hours, and there are hours worth of questions for us, and we will get to them. But for now, I'm going to turn it back to Bill to wrap us up for today.
Great. Well, thank you, Matina. And first, I just want to extend a heartfelt thank you to each of our college deans, stepping forward to take on a new role for the university at a challenging time. And I just want each of you to know how grateful I am to all of you for agreeing to do so, and how much I look forward to working with you in that capacity. And Matina, if you ever tire of being a college dean, you've got a bright career as a TV host. I have to say, you did very impressive. Thank you. I also want to extend my thanks to Todd and Steve, our provost and our VP University Services. And Steve, of course, has taken the lead on academic restructuring. He's done a wonderful job, and Todd continues to have a big road ahead with SET. And I'm just enormously grateful to both of you for all of the wonderful work that you've done. And my view is that we as a university are enormously privileged to have all of you in the roles that you're occupying, and as we plot a future ahead for the university. And finally, just a very big thank you to all of you who are watching today, and indeed a big thank you to the entire university community. And I have to tell you, I remain enormously encouraged. I think there is a shared sense of urgency of us coming together to address our challenges, but more importantly, a shared sense of purpose of what we're trying to achieve to sustain all that we really care about the university with our research, our teaching, and our community service. The University of Alberta is a great university, and it has a great future. And I have no doubt that together we will continue to work to advance that future. So once again, thank you everyone for participating today. And finally, I just might say, I do hope you get some time off this summer. Whatever it is you love to do, make sure you take some time to do it, because I know all of us in the university community have had a challenging year, and the summer is a time to recharge. So I wish you all the best. I know I've got some great plans to go bike riding in the prairies. And so whatever it is you love to do, please make sure that you do make time for that. And once again, thank you for your engagement. Thank you, everyone.